Cheryl Welsh-Charrier, and I'm a lucky woman this morning because I get to be the platform assistant for our very own Reverend Karen, and Wayne Wilentz is in the house. Yay! Our prayers today are from In the Flow of Life, Eric Butterworth's In the Flow of Life. So this is our centering prayer. Let your mind and heart release all that disturbs you. Let your body be still and all the fretting of your body and all that surrounds it. Let the earth and sea and air be still and heaven itself. And then think of spirit as streaming, pouring, rushing, and shining into you, through you, and out from you in all directions while you sit quiet. Amen.
Autumn in New York, why does it seem so inviting? Autumn in New York, it spells the thrill of first nighting. Glittering crowds and shimmering clouds in canyons of steel. They're making me feel I'm home. It's autumn in New York. That brings the promise of new love. Autumn in New York is often mingled with pain. Dreamers with empty hands, they sigh for exotic lands. It's autumn in New York. It's good to live it again. It's autumn in New York, transforms the slums in a Mayfair. Autumn in New York, you'll need no castles in Spain. Lovers that bless the dark on benches in Central Park. It's autumn in New York. It's time to live it again.
Wayne, thank you. That was really so evocative. It really did take me to New York in the autumn. Thank you for that. So, everybody, glad to be here with you. I have a song for you. I'm going to start off with a song. I behold the Christ in you. Here the life of God I see. I can see a great peace too. I can see you whole and free. I behold the Christ in you. I can see this as you walk. I see this in all you do. I can see this as you talk. I behold God's love expressed. I can see you filled with power. I can see you ever blessed. See Christ in you hour by hour. I behold the Christ in you. I can see that perfect one. Led by God in all you do, I can see God's work is done. Remember, we used to sing that song all the time, and I always loved it. And now it's been so long that I even messed up. But it's okay, because I know you got the point, and I was going to reference that song because it's kind of the theme of my talk. And I thought, if I really just reference that song, can't I just sing the whole thing? So when I sing that, what I'm doing, of course, is I am affirming the truth about you. I am affirming your divinity, your perfection, your innocent, how worthy, how deserving, how filled you are with beautiful possibilities. And when I'm here and I'm looking at all your pretty faces, it is so easy to sing that song. It just lifts me up. It is just so great. And then sometimes I'm somewhere else, or I'm thinking about somebody else, and I find myself struggling to see the Christ in someone. And my first thought in my oh so human self is to think they don't have a lot of it. And then I think I got to look harder in them. It is hidden in them. So I got to work really hard to find the Christ, the divine, the perfection, the lovableness in them. Because somewhere in our vast array of teachings, there is a prompt that we are to love even those we would consider perhaps our enemies, the bad guy. And I want to be a good unity student. I want to be true to the unity teachings. I want to understand them. I want to accept a greater challenge. I don't want to just see the Christ in the beautiful people who hang out with me and kind of think my way. I also don't want to just see the Christ in you. I want to, and in fact, I kind of need to see from the perspective of the Christ. And that means finding the Christ in myself, which can be just as hard. Do I behold the Christ in me? I may only see the Christ in others if I am looking through Christ eyes, because sometimes that's what it takes. And if I'm having trouble seeing the Christ in others, maybe I better check what kind of eyes, what kind of lens I'm looking through, because I have read some of the teachings of Jesus, who is our way shower and our guide. And he always found the Christ in them. He always found the divinity in others. And if that's our way shower and our guide, then we're supposed to do our best to follow that example. Now, with my human eyes, I see a lot of terrific things. I do. It can fill me up. I can settle for it. I can be satisfied with it. But if I believe that there's a potential for more, and I do believe it, then I don't want to just insist on finding it in the beautiful. I want to insist on finding it in myself. And if I can find it in myself, then I will find it everywhere. That is the source of it. That is the kernel. The truth is that we have divinity in us, each and every one of us. We have that divinity in us, not the way the ocean has fish in it, but more like the way the ocean has salt in it. You might even say the way the ocean has water in it. It is the very nature of the ocean. And the Christ is our very nature. I tend to, in my day-to-day rushing around living life way, I tend to think of the divine as being in me, kind of like playing hide and seek. And if I concentrate and focus and get lucky, I will spot it. But to have faith in myself as an expression of the divine, well, if I'm not doing that, then I am missing the point, right? I mean, the song is good. I behold the Christ in you, but I gotta behold the Christ in me, or else I'm missing the point and I really can't do the rest of it. And you know what? There is a true impact. It's not just the momentary, lack of doing the thing. There is an impact of little faith, of having too little faith. So in the 8th chapter of the Gospel of Mark, Jesus heals a blind man. Now we know there are a lot of stories of Jesus performing healings, but in this particular one, I'm going to read you what it says. When he had put saliva on his eyes and laid his hands on them, he asked him, "Can you see anything?" And the man looked up and said, "I can see people, but they look like trees walking." And then Jesus, so he did it again. He was like, "Okay, let's try this once more." And he did the laying his hands on the eyes again. And this time the sight was restored. He saw everything clearly. This is the only example where Jesus has to try twice. This is the only example we're given. And you know what? I have this giant Bible, which some of you have seen, and it's really big. This is the one that Lafayette told me to get. And look, I've used it so much, it's falling apart. And it has lots and lots of notes, like as much text in the notes as in the Bible language itself, right? So there's a lot of really good material there. And the footnotes there speculate, perhaps this is another indication that the growing lack of faith surrounding him affects his power. Because just leading up to that healing story, he was kind of getting frustrated with the disciples around him, like, come on, you guys, why aren't you paying attention to this? Why aren't you learning? Do you have eyes and fail to see? Do you have ears and fail to hear? And do you not remember? Because they had found themselves at one of these large crowded scenes, and Jesus heard them discussing, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We've got all these people here and we don't have enough food to feed everybody. And he reminded them, remember the other times when we managed to feed thousands and thousands of people, even though we thought we were starting off with just a few loaves? And I will tell you, if I had performed miracles like that and everybody kept forgetting, I would be annoyed too. I'd be like, come on, man. But this is what was happening, right? They would lose their faith. They would just forget, even though they had seen this incredible thing. So when our faith falters, which it does, who is it we're not believing in? Are we not believing in Jesus and the healing and the providing of all the bread? Are we not believing in God, who is the source of all of this? When we're not believing in the divine oneness and the omnipotence and the omnipresence, really what we're doing is we're not believing in ourselves. And our wonderful Kaywood sent me some books because he is a dreamboat, and he sent me a few books by Elizabeth Sand Turner, and this one is Your Hope of Glory. And in this one, I found this great line: we are loath to acknowledge the Christ within. Too true. I'm going to give you a minute just to sit with that and just think, is it true? We are loath to acknowledge the Christ within. It does seem a little like scary or something. It seems like a bit much. Now, I'm willing. I'm willing to behold the Christ in me. Sounds like a great idea. I seek to behold the Christ in me. I really do. The allness, the oneness. It's all I want. When I'm not my Christ self, who am I? When I neglect to know, to affirm the reality of me, who am I being? So the spiritual interpretation of the Sanskrit word namaste is: the divine in me honors the divine in you. And I don't know about you, but I think that when I have said that word, I think about, hey, this is great. I just want you to know I'm beholding the divine in you. I think it's that. I forget about the wait. Did I find the divine in me in order to do that honoring of the divine in you? Am I really sure? Because I may have to give life to the divine in me before I can honor the divine in anybody else. And I wonder if there's a Sanskrit word for where the heck is the divine in me? Because I might need to say that a few times first. Where is our spiritual practice? Are we willing to transition to spiritual being, to really be the spiritual being, from practicing to being the spiritual presence? What does it take for us to feel ready and willing to take that on? Many years ago, I was working on songs over at Wayne's house. This is when he was still living in Maryland. We were getting ready for a concert, and there was a song I was learning that was new to me. I think it was All the Things You Are. And I was just kind of, he was playing, and I was just kind of perfunctorily tapping out syllables and notes with my voice, just like going through it. And he stopped after a few measures and he said, "What are you doing, singing it that way?" I said, "Well, I'm not really trying to sing it right now. I'm just trying to learn it." And he said, "If this is the way you learn it, then this is the way you're going to sing it." And then he did a little demonstration on the keyboard and just, plucked out a few tunes. And he said, "If I learn a song like this is how I'm going to play it when I go out to play it." And he was right. This kind of trying, see, Wayne, I really do listen. This kind of trying to learn something by practicing at it, hanging around it, being in the proximity of that truth. You know what it's like? It's like if I were to go lie down on the sofa and watch a video about how to shoot basketball. I get some general concepts, but it doesn't really put me there. And the truth is, I love the general concepts around divinity. Love reading them, thinking about them, writing about them, talking about them, hearing about them. I love it. I love to seek the divine. I love to pray about the divine. But to actually find it, if I found the divine, then what would I do with all that seeking time? Where do I look for the divinity? I look everywhere, but rarely within me. I look in books. I listen to other people's sermons. I find it in nature. I find it in my love for my daughter. I find the divine, and that is all good. But when we look outside ourselves only, that is pure obstinance. Eric Butterworth, whose prayers we're having in our service today, thanks to Cheryl, Eric Butterworth said, "The power and privilege that go with our divinity is ours only when we act the part." And with this, he is putting us on notice. We are to act the part. We are to claim that divinity. It is ours, and there is one way to get it, and that is really to claim it. We can't just hang out with it and around it and near it. We are to take the Christ message seriously. So first we got to ask, do we believe it? Do we believe what Jesus said in John 14:12 when he said, with faith, we can do all that he did and more? Do we believe it, or do we just like believing all the stuff that he can do? In the thinking chapter of Lessons in Truth, Emily Cady said, each one of us is a radiating center. I want you to sit with that for a minute. Recognize yourself as a radiating center, radiating divinity. And Emily Cady quotes from the Bible. She quotes, here's her whole line. "I am the way, the truth, and the life," spoke the Christ through the lips of the Nazarene. Now, did you catch that? I had to reread it. I have read this book before, but I've been rereading it, and this line grabbed me. The Nazarene, that means Jesus, right? The guy from Nazareth. She said that those words, I am the way, the truth, and the life, spoke the Christ through the lips of the Nazarene. They came from the Christ through Jesus' lips, through Jesus' voice. They did not originate with Jesus, the person. They originated from that Christ self, the divinity within him, which is the same as the divinity within all of us. Those words, imagine saying those words, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and saying it not because you're quoting Jesus, but because you are expressing your own divinity. So we're going to do it. All right, we're going to do it. Say these words with me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And now really own it. Really say it like you mean it. Let's say it again. I am the way, the truth, and the life. For me, that feels a little bit like walking across a rickety bridge, but knowing that it's actually stable, even if I feel a little uneasy walking across it. See, Emily Cady, bless her, she does not do what most traditional Christian churches do. She does not confuse and conflate Jesus with the Christ. Jesus was the person, the embodiment, the unique person, just as I am a unique person, and just as each of you is a unique person, that Christ is the common essence of who we all are, the state of consciousness, the divinity itself, the connection with God, the expression of God. It's there. You don't have to wonder. But sometimes we got to do a little something to acknowledge it. The same Christ that expressed through Jesus is ready, willing, and eager to speak through you. Ready, ready, ready. We are to own the truth that the Christ that abides within each of us is not just some general concept of goodness. It's not hard to wake up, I hope, every day and think, I'm generally a good person. I'm not planning anything really bad today. Each of us does not just contain a little bit of Christ, though, but the full presence of Christ is right there. The wisdom, the love, the innocence. We don't have to seek it. We don't have to want it or hope to receive it, but just claim it. We don't claim it from the Nazarene. Jesus wasn't saying, I have this thing, and if you're really great, I will share it with you. Jesus was saying, hey, you guys, I just want you to know we all have this. And we want it, right? Can we ever just say, I've got it? Do we have to keep seeking it and wanting it? The wonderful Unity minister Edwene Gaines said, it is good to be a seeker, but sooner or later, you must be a finder. It can be so comfortable hanging out in seeking land. I mean, we're used to it, right? It's a very nice place to be. But we got to find. We've got to be willing to find. And if not you, who? And if not now, when? From Charles Fillmore, he said this: we open the door of the mind by consciously affirming the presence and the power of the divine I am in our midst. Right? Okay, I'm going to say it again, because he said we open the door of the mind, right, the consciousness, by consciously affirming the presence and power of the divine I am in our midst. He doesn't say by reading the right books. He says by consciously affirming. We can do that. We're doing that today. And what else have our great Unity teachers told us? Myrtle Fillmore, our other Unity co-founder, she began the whole thing with her by now well-known affirmation: I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit illness. And she was not affirming a little bit of divinity. She was not affirming that she had an inkling of divinity coming and going, hard to find, but if she tried really hard. No, she was affirming that she was wholly divine. And many of us remember our beloved Reverend Lafayette Seymour praying, I know you're going to be saying it with me when I say it, more of thee, more of thee, more of thee, until I am all of thee, all of thee, all of thee. The first time I heard him say that, I thought, whoa, what is he saying? Because I was new to unity at that time. So I thought that thee referred to this external God. And I was like, what are you talking about? Until I am all of thee. But no, it was not hyperbole. It was not metaphor. As usual, Reverend Seymour meant what he said. Thee is the allness, the divine. He was saying, I'm taking this in, and my goal is the absolute divinity that I know is my true nature. We are not to settle for a glimpse, an inkling, a coming and going. We are to strive for and affirm fullness and consistency of this divine being, this in our self-awareness, right? Not just in our truth somewhere theoretically, but in our awareness. This is our job, actually. You know, Jesus was not a superstar looking for backup singers. He wasn't saying, hey, check me out. And if you want, you can ride on my coattails and get close to the greatness. He was saying, this is us. This is what we're all about. He only urged us to be fully divine, to have full faith. Like the time that he was walking on the water and Peter said, woo, let me try. And so Peter went out and Peter was walking on the water and he was like, hey, man, it's working. And then he looked down and got scared and he started to sink. So he reached out his hand and Jesus pulled him back up. And Jesus just was like, why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? Ye of little faith. And of course, too often it's we of little faith, right? I can't even tell you the last time I walked on water. So how to get there from where we are. Butterworth described beautifully that we do not pray to God. We pray from a consciousness of God. We pray from a consciousness of God. How do we get into a consciousness of God? For one thing, we need to think bigger. We need to think bigger and allow it because we are truly there. It is our natural setting. The consciousness of God is available to us and it's ours for the taking, and it wants us to dive in. I think there are a lot of people hearing this message right now who are accustomed to being really nice, kind of like, if somebody really wants us to do something, we try to do it. What if God really wants you to do something? Like dive right into the divinity. Our consciousness of God is the kingdom, and that's really what all the fuss has been about. Our consciousness is our experience. We want the consciousness of God, the oneness, the infinite possibility, the complete connection, nothing less. And if we look back to the story of the prodigal son, oftentimes we are prodigal and we don't even realize it. We didn't mean to stray, but then something might happen and we realize we feel a little bit disconnected. And so we can affirm, as did the prodigal son, I will get up and go to my father. I say that line sometimes to myself. When I realize that I'm just feeling disconnected, I will just say the line, I will get up and go to my father. And I had to get over my resistance to referring to God as masculine. I've just had to get over a lot of that, because sometimes the line is just good. And I like it as a statement of affirmative intention. It's so simple, but it's an affirmative intention. So let's say it together. I will get up and go to my father. This is what the prodigal son was saying when he was like, man, this is not working out the way I want it to. I know it can be better. I am returning to my source. So let's just say it one more time and then we'll have a little silence to hang out with it. I will get up and go to my father. And let's look back at Lafayette's line too. More of thee, more of thee, more of thee, until I am all of thee, all of thee, all of thee. It is all that we could possibly desire. And at the same time, it isn't much to ask for because it's God's intention and greatest wish for us. You know, when Solomon expressed his deepest wish to God in 1 Kings chapter 3, he asked for wisdom. And God said, well, since you only asked for that and you didn't ask for a lot of selfish material things, I'm going to give you absolutely everything. And you might look at that conversation and say, wow, God was in a really good mood that day. But it's not a special reward. That whole conversation is like an overlaying of the ongoing agreement between us and spirit. The wisdom that Solomon asked for is the consciousness of God, the knowing of the truth, the divine truth. And from Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, seek first the kingdom and everything else will be yours. That consciousness is the kernel, the seed, the core, it's everything. All right, I'm going to wrap up in a minute. And I want to tell you, I was going to leave this next section out. I deleted it and then I put it back because this is not meant to be a talk about forgiveness or unconditional love, but it's a talk about divinity and having faith in our own divinity. But I don't think I can talk about achieving that kind of consciousness without referencing forgiveness and unconditional love. And, you know, our great teachers said to us, if something's not working out in your life, is there something you need to forgive? What is the burden that you're carrying that's weighing you down? Where are you unable to love somebody? And we are in a burning hot election season. And sometimes we become all too aware of someone we don't feel a lot of love for. And I cannot believe it, but it's true that it needs to be our goal to love our enemies, to see the divine in each and every child of God, to know that each one of us is a child of God, and that we may have our steps to take in this world, in this physical world. We may have some steps to take. A lot of you know I've been doing a lot of canvassing, walking all over the swing state of Pennsylvania. I feel like I have some steps to take, but in my divine, truest, most important self, I know it is not my place to judge another person. I know that it is actually my place to love another person. I want to tell you something. I went to the Unity Church. Evita and I went to the Unity Church in Baltimore a few weeks ago, and I love what Reverend Allen said up there. I'm going to just kind of try to quote him as well as I can. He said, I believe that Donald Trump has the potential to be a great president. And the reason I believe that is because I saw the conversion of Saul. Saul, who was persecuting the Christians like nobody's business until he had a conversion and became a great teacher and leader and person of the people. That was radical to me, but I needed something like that, something to hang on to. So we are now in the midst of this incredible, enormous opportunity to practice forgiveness, to practice universal love and acceptance. This is such a big learning opportunity. What kind of tuition would we possibly have to pay to go through this kind of a learning opportunity? And yet here it is being offered to us, so to speak, for free. Let's not pass it up. Let's let ourselves be challenged. Let's let ourselves try and exercise those forgiveness, unconditional love muscles that we do have, and they make us stronger. All right. We don't do ourselves or anybody any good by residing in bitterness. We were not born bitter. Let's not hang out in bitter. It's not who we are. And I think we're going to work on the consciousness now. We're going to do that in our meditation. Something that I read in Emily Cady, I think just this morning. I want to tell you, I've read Lessons in Truth numerous times. I'm reading it again. This morning, I read one chapter, then I wait a couple of days, and I read another chapter. And I read the one about the secret place. And then my next chapter is going to be Finding the Secret Place, which is kind of what this whole talk is about. And I'm like, oh man, too bad I didn't read this one yesterday. I would have had, but I feel like it's a nail biter. Like, what's going to be in the next chapter? As though I've never read it before. I feel like it's a cliffhanger. So I'm excited about that. But here's what she said. At the great heart of humanity, there's a deep and awful homesickness that never has been and never can be satisfied with anything less than a clear, vivid consciousness of the indwelling presence of God. I just love that. So we're going to work on satisfying that homesickness. Let's prepare for meditation. Let's take a couple connecting breaths at your own pace, welcoming the comfort and the empowerment of our togetherness, our shared awareness, and our shared intentions. Our unity teachings give us so much to grow from, to go on, and I will offer some of these here along with some silence. So many voices for us to hear from. Nothing matters as much as the silent voice within you. So we will take some silence between these phrases. Emily Katie's first affirmation: God is life, love, intelligence, substance, omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence. I am a manifestation of God, and every moment God's life, love, wisdom, and power flow into and through me. From Francis Fulks: let the light of thy countenance, O omnipresent one, continually be upon me, that I may be steadfast in my purpose of finding thee. From John Randolph Price: I lift up my mind and heart to be aware, to understand, and to know that the divine presence is the source and substance of my good. I lift up my mind and heart to be aware, to understand, and to know that the divine presence is my very nature. From Francis Fulks: as I remember my likeness to thee, my mind and my body sing, wake up, my glory, awake. From Charles Fillmore: I affirm the presence and power of the divine I am in my midst. Open, willing, and receptive, I wait in ready silence for the fullness of spiritual consciousness. I seek only this: more of thee, more of thee, more of thee, until I am all of thee, all of thee, all of thee. From Edwin Gaines: we open our hearts and minds to the full activity of the Holy Spirit. It is my Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. And one more, and then we'll take a couple minutes of silence. I will get up and go to my Father. Now, please thank Spirit for speaking to you. Invite Spirit to speak to you any old time, and make a little promise that you'll listen. And so it is.
On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore. You can hear from far and near a world you'd never heard before. On that clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and evermore. On a clear day, rise and look around you. You're going to see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore, and you will hear from far and near a world you never heard before. On that clear day, on that clear day, you will see forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and evermore.
Karen, thank you so much. I may have to listen to that again on YouTube. And Wayne, wonderful music today. I think I sang along with all of them. This is our closing prayer. It is also from In the Flow of Life by Eric Butterworth. I am in the flow of life, and I move easily with the flow. I am radiantly and enthusiastically alive. I am free from tension, stress, and strain, and I go forward in the flow of life, unhurried and unworried. And so it is.